Alright, we saw how the authentication works, and it is good but not enough. We want more options. In this video, we will modify a bit the authentication. We want to maybe fix some code that comes with the built-in authentication and we do not like. For example, let's create a new user, but the name this time will be all lowercase. So, renato@gmail.com. Okay. Now, as you can imagine, this user will be registered, but the first character of my name is lowercase. You know what? I don't like this. I want the name to have the first character capitalized. Saving a name like this is unprofessional for some projects. So let me introduce you to accessors and mutators. Accessors and mutators allow you to format eloquent attribute values when you retrieve or set them on model instances. So the name, email, and password are all eloquent attributes. So basically, we're talking about a getter and a setter. The accessor is the getter and the mutator is the setter. What this means? Well, let's start with the mutator. With a mutator, we can modify an attribute of a model before we save it. That's too much theory and I don't like this. Let's write the code that will capitalize the first character of the name attribute. There are many ways that you can do this. Let me show you the bad way first and then the correct way. So the worst possible place to write the code for this example is inside the controller. Laravel has created a couple of controllers for us regarding the authentication. Just open up, http, controllers, auth. For this case, we need the register controller. Alright, we have a create function here that creates the user. At the first glance, you might notice that this way of creating a user is a bit different from what we did. But both ways are correct and a good practice. We will learn more about this in future videos. Now we want to capitalize the first character of the name attribute. The function we can use for this is UCFirst. So, UCFirst, and inside the parentheses, we will have the data name. If we create a user with a lowercase name now, the first character of the name will be capitalized. Let's try it. So back to the register. Erica@gmail.com, 111. Register. Excellent, this worked. So you can see the name here is capitalized, and if you go to the database again, you can see that E is capitalized. So it doesn't matter anymore if the user sets the name with lowercase letters. The first letter will always be capitalized. But this is not the best solution, and this is the beauty of programming. You can solve a problem in so many different ways. However, unfortunately, we choose ways that are hard to test or modify in the future, but are easier to write at that specific moment. Think about it. In the future, you might want to create a user from a dashboard. Again, you will need to set the name to start with a capital letter, which means that you have to add this line again. But what if you forget to use UCFirst? It happens all the time, trust me. So, to solve this, we can create a mutator, and this is the correct way to solve this problem. Remove UCFirst from here, and inside the user model, we want to define a mutator that will set the name attribute. It is very easy. Public function set name attribute and the value. Simple as that. Now we want to access the name attribute in order to modify it before it is saved. So this attributes name equals to UCFirst and the value. That's all. It doesn't matter anymore from where you create a user. It might be via authentication or via the admin dashboard or an API. It really doesn't matter because the name will always start with a capital letter now. Always. Let's test if the mutator works. So, back to this page, register, mutator at@gmail.com, and the password. So you can see that M is capitalized. Let's also find the users table. Again, M is here capitalized. And we did this using the mutator and not the code inside the controller. So that's good, and you have to remember something. You have to keep your models fat and your controllers skinny. It is much easier to test small functions than testing a bunch of code. So keep your controllers skinny and your models fat. Okay, now have you noticed something? Every time we create a user, the password is encrypted. You can see it here. So where does this encryption take place? Let's see the register controller. Yeah, here it is. We are using the bcrypt function to encrypt the password. Let's think about it for a moment. Every time we create a user, we want the password to be encrypted. So instead, why don't we create a mutator for this? Remove the bcrypt function from here, and we will go to the user model and create the mutator for the password attribute. Public function set password attribute and the value. These attributes, and we want to access password, and we want to bcrypt the value. So bcrypt value. So the same code pretty much, no big difference. But you have to remember something. Mutators always start with set. Accessors, on the other hand, that we will learn in the next video, start with get. Getters and setters, remember? The attribute part, this one, should always be used at the end, always, for both of them. Let's try to register one more user, using both mutators this time, name and password. So, back to the register. Name will be last at gmail.com, and the password the usual one. Register, and we are logged in. So let's see if it worked. Yep, the last name started with a capital L, and the password is encrypted, so both mutators did their job.